welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
I can hear you.
Okay. We are starting a very warm welcome to one and all. It gives me great pleasure to have all of you all here today and with us, and on this very important occasion and very important event that we are having today, and that is the Ease of Doing Business and Manufacturing Summit in association with a lot of our partners from India and from the United Kingdom. And I really welcome our special guests and guests of honor today. I would like to just introduce briefly. We have with us today His Excellency Alan Gemmell, Her Majesty's Trade Commissioner for Southeast Asia, and British Deputy High Commissioner for Western India. We also have with us today our guest of honor, Sri R. Ramanan, is the Mission Director of Atal Innovation Mission and the Additional Secretary, Niti Aayog, Government of India. Our special address today is going to be given by Mr. Aarien Uday Areti. He is the Councillor of the Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea, and also the Chairman of BRICS Europe. That will be followed by today's panel discussions. We are having a lot of speakers and a very value-added session. I really hope that all of you all get time to go through all of it. And the first panel is going to be Mr. R. Kannan. He is the Head of Corporate Performance Monitoring, Hinduja Group. Mr. Kevin McCall, Managing Director, UK-India Business Council. Mr. William Hopkinson, First Secretary and Deputy Head of Investment, British Deputy High Commission, Mumbai. Mr. Weber Mittal, Business Head, Mahindra World City and Origins by Mahindra World City. And Ms. Aarti Parmar, Senior Partner at Kanudoshi Group. On the second panel, we would be having that is going to be focusing on manufacturing, the new gold. The panelists are going to be Mr. Sujit Nair, Chairman of Europe-India Centre for Business and Industry, Mrs. Tinku Rajiv Gupta, Vice President East Zone, Indian Chamber of International Business, Mr. Raghunath Rajan, District Project Director, Vocational 2, MSME and Government Relations, Rotary District 3141. And Mr. Rahul Tabane, the Country Head, India, UK Export Finance from British Deputy High Commission. We also have a special guest today with us, Dr. P. Anbangam, who is the CEO of MIDC. Welcome, sir. A special welcome to you. Today's event is going to be focusing on India and UK relations. We find that it's been a different ball game altogether for these two countries. We've been having relations worth centuries, and we have been growing from leaps and bounds. Starting with today's session today, I would like to start with the national anthem of both the countries. I request you to please give me a minute. for our inaugural address, His Excellency Alan Gemmell. A few words about Alan in the beginning, please. Alan Gemmell was appointed by Her Majesty as a Trade Commissioner for Southeast Asia and British Deputy High Commissioner for Western India in June 2020. Prior to his appointment, Alan was Chief Executive of the Commonwealth Enterprise and Investment Council, where he promoted intra-Commonwealth trade working with leading British businesses including HSBC, JCB, Rolls-Royce, Standard Chartered, as well as the City of London, the UK government, and a number of government of Commonwealth countries. Alan was part of a 2019 Commonwealth mission to assess the successful application of the government of Maldives and to join the Commonwealth. Alan has worked in Brazil, India, Israel, and Mexico with the British Council, as was the director of the British Council in India from 2016 to 2018. And he was leading the UK-India Year of Culture and working with the state government supporting education agenda across the country. Alan worked on counterterrorism and preventive extremism in the UK's Cabinet Office and also the economic migration in the Home Office. Alan was awarded OBE in the 2016, the New Year, the Honours List for the Service of Arts and Science. Welcome, sir. I hand over to you for your address.
Manpreet, thank you very much for inviting me today. Can I confirm that you can hear me okay and see me? Okay?
Loud and clear. Welcome, very warm welcome to Mumbai once again. And let's treat this as your introduction to the business community of Mumbai and India.
Well, look, I'm delighted to be here today, friends, and very grateful to the India Chamber of International Business for including me in your event. I'm delighted that we have a councillor from Kensington and Chelsea also speaking today, and such an august collection of businesses and participants. I'm also pleased that my colleague William Hopkinson will be taking part in the panel session later on this afternoon. So I arrived in this job in Mumbai about 2 months ago now, and it's been obviously the stranger starts to a job, and the context that we're operating in is of course relevant to all of us. So we know that we're operating in strange times and in and through COVID. That presented increased connection between our governments, and I wanted to start there a bit on the COVID context and a bit on my own connections and the stories that I've picked up on the UK-India relationship before talking about the ease of doing business focus of today's webinar. So in terms of that particular COVID context that we're working in, we've seen increased collaboration between our countries, and that collaboration that saw India help export 3 million tablets of paracetamol to the UK at a critical time in the UK's battle against COVID. It also saw the government here in Maharashtra and the federal government help British businesses who had key workers who needed to access offices during a lockdown, help those businesses ensure that their workers get into offices to keep the UK elements of the UK's critical national infrastructure running. And of course, there also was collaboration to help repatriate thousands of British nationals home during the early period and the middle of the COVID outbreak. And we are incredibly grateful to the government of India and to the state government here for all of that collaboration, which was through some of those critical moments for my own country during its response to COVID. We know that we're operating within that context, but in addition, I've been talking to senior business people in both countries, and I've been talking to senior politicians in both countries. And there's an incredible enthusiasm for the UK-India relationship, an incredible enthusiasm for the UK-India corridor, and for what both countries will do for one another and for the world throughout this decade. We know that there's a difficult now for us. But this enthusiasm is real, and many of you are evidence of that. And the business you have in Britain and India, the investment opportunities that you see and that you're taking, the deals that you're considering and making, are evidence of the ambitious and unbeatable partnership our countries can have together, and why there is such an enthusiasm politically as well as commercially for the UK-India partnership. We saw some of that enthusiasm come about weeks ago. Our commerce ministers met for the 14th Joint Economic and Trade Committee, the 14th ECO, which Liz Truss, the Secretary of State for International Trade, chaired with Shri Piyush Goyal. And throughout that JETCO engagement, saw a significant movement in key areas and priorities for both countries. So priorities in some of our most important areas of market access, where we were able to secure the removal of barriers for polyhalite, making a significant win and opportunity for UK exporters. But we also saw both sides recognise and agree to have an enhanced trade partnership and a possible roadmap to a free trade agreement. So really seeing this enthusiasm for an ambitious and unbeatable partnership between our countries come to light. And it's my great delight really to be able to play a part in developing the ambitions that have been set by the ministers at last month's JETCO, and to work with businesses who are on this webinar, but also some of our most multipliers, including the UK-India Business Council, and I'm delighted that Kevin is on the line, and they continue to play a critical role in helping nurture and develop and foster the UK-India corridor and business to government relations between both countries. So let me touch a little bit on ease of doing business for both our countries. You will know on this line that the UK has consolidated its place as one of the best places in the world to do business, according to the latest World Bank Ease of Doing Business report. And that's a report that shows the UK ranking in the world for its business environment rising from 9th the previous year. And the UK's latest ranking means the UK is the second best business in the G7 after the US, and the second best place in Western Europe after Denmark. The report shows that the UK continues to be one of the best places to do business in the world as we get ready for the significant changes that we will see in our country as we move into a new set of trading arrangements next year. And my department, the Department for International Trade, is committed to supporting businesses in the UK and across to attract investment, to boost our economy now and as we go into our new trading arrangements over the next few years. A professional services firm called TMF Group ranked the UK better than other major European countries for business complexity, one measure of a jurisdiction's attractiveness for multinational firms. The TMF Group's annual Global Business Complexity Index 2020 ranks 77 jurisdictions across the world in order of ease of doing business, with the UK as 44 most complex. It places the UK comfortably ahead of our near neighbours across Europe. And that report recognises a number of the critical elements that businesses think about when they decide where to establish them. So companies can operate in the UK fast. It can be done in less than a week. And such a short startup time is only the case in 25% jurisdictions surveyed worldwide. From a tax perspective, the UK has a comparatively simple system in place, with companies having to deal with one central tax authority, as opposed to those countries that deal with multiple tax authorities. And these kinds of approaches to making helping businesses set up and establish and run their businesses effectively and efficiently are parts of that the British government is seeking to enshrine and make and develop to ensure that we continue to be one of the most attractive in the world for investment and for business setup and startup. Because we know that the role of difficult to nations and the decisions that you take as business people are critical in terms of how a country continues to maintain as an effective force inward investment. We've also seen a significant improvement in ease of doing business in India, and I'm sure that's the point that we will seek to make today. With India amongst the top 10 most improved economies of the doing business ranking for 3 years, and that's a first in the history of those rankings. I'm also going to talk today a little about what my the department and colleagues of the High Commission in India have been doing to help Indian state government achieve those ease of doing business improvements. So we have an ease of doing business program within the UK High Commission here, and we work closely with our partner organisations like UKIBC and others, but we also work with state governments to help support their desire to improve ease of doing business. And we've been working with the Karnataka government, supporting town planning development under the state government there, implementing a building plan approval system. And this will see a benchmarking study for the construction permit system to understand international best practices. We've also undertaken work to improve the ease of doing business with other partners in the Indian government system, with the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, where in 2018 we commissioned a study for the FSSAI, proposing improvements to the import and export processes in India, identifying barriers for the food industry. We also helped the Indian Customs Organization organize their National Trade Facilitation Conference in October 2019 in Kolkata. And that was a conference that facilitated knowledge exchange between Indian and HMRC UK customs authorities. So we're very keen, as you are as business people, to play the role that we can to support and improve ease of doing business in our own country, but also in partnership with the Government of India and state government. I'm delighted to have had an opportunity today to talk a little about why ease of doing business is important to my government and to colleagues at the High Commission here. And I look forward to hearing more from your webinar as it continues. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Excellency. It was indeed very enlightening, and the information that you've given and shared with us today regarding the relation between both the countries, how the partnership has evolved over a period of time, and recent developments, the ministers of commerce had met, and regarding the joint economic mission, the things that are planned for the near future. And I really believe that very soon we might be able to access the free trade agreement between the United Kingdom and India to boost trade between both these countries. Thank you so much. And especially the customs initiative that we're going on between both the countries, and out of Calcutta, I mean, Calcutta being one of the most important strategic points between India-UK relations right from pre-independence days, something that really needs to be rekindled. And I really thank you once again for your welcome address and inaugural letter. Thank you, sir. I would now like to welcome our guest of honor for today, Ramanan Ramanathan. Ramanan ji is the mission director of the Atal Innovation Mission, Niti Aayog, which is the National Institution for Transforming India by the Government of India. The Atal Innovation Mission is a strategic and holistic national inclusive innovation initiative aligned with United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, spanning schools, universities, industry, and NGOs. As the mission director of AIM, Ramanan ji has been instrumental to date in the launch and execution of several nationwide innovation and entrepreneurship initiatives, resulting in 8,000 plus Atal Tinkering Labs being established in schools nationwide, with 5,000 plus operational in 650 districts and over 2 million students having access to innovative tools and technologies like 3D printers, robotics, miniaturized electronics, and do-it-yourself kits. 101 Atal incubation centers being established in universities, industry, and fostering startups. 24 Atal New India challenges to stimulate product innovations along with the ministries of India, one of the largest mentorship network with over 10,000 plus registrations nationwide. Atal Innovation Mission InnoNet to mentor young school students and startups in the tinkering labs and incubators. He's also spearheaded the establishment of global academic, industrial, and government relationships of AIMs aligned with its objectives. Shri R. Ramananji is the Senior Vice President of Tata Consultancy Services. Prior to this, he was the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer and a member of the Board of Directors, CMC Limited, a subsidiary of the globally acclaimed Tata Consultancy Services, TCS. Ramananji's illustrious career in the IT industry spans more than 3 decades when he joined TCS in 1981 after graduating from IIT Bombay in electrical engineering. Ramananji played an instrumental role in the growth of TCS with a variety of responsibilities ranging from software product development, technical marketing, global business development, and general management of large delivery centers of TCS. He led CMC's rapid transformation from a domestic government organization to a global IT systems, engineering, and integration organization. Under his leadership, CMC share price grew from 2,100% between October 2001 to 2014. Its operating profits grew over 1,338%, with over 72% of its business coming from overseas markets, and leading to its successful amalgamation into TCS in 2015. Ramananji is also a Harvard Business School Advanced Management Program alumni and accredited by Cambridge University Sustainability Leadership. He was also elected as the lifetime chair of HBS AMP 187 alumni by Harvard Business School. Ramananji has been conferred with an honorary doctorate by the Gujarat Law Society in recognition of his impactful, considerable contribution in the areas of corporate leadership, entrepreneurship, and innovation. Ramananji is also the chairman of CSIR LRF Committee, chairman of the New Zealand Trade and Enterprise NZTE Beachheads Advisory Panel, key board member in the Defence Innovation Organization, the DIO, Innovations for Defence Excellence, key board member in the 14F, India-Israel Industrial R&D and Technical Innovation Fund. It is aimed to promote and facilitate and support joint R&D between India and Israel by the Global Innovation and Technology Alliances, the GITA. Key member of the Tata Global Innovation Forum and has served on the board of the Tata companies. He is an eminent speaker at numerous national and global forums on corporate leadership and sustainability, innovation and entrepreneurship. Ramananji received the CEO of the Year Award in 2015 from CMO Asia, India's top 3 most valuable CEO recognition by Business World in 2011 and 2013, Indira Gandhi Sadbhavna and Rajiv Gandhi Shiromani Awards in 2005 and 2006, and many other recognitions for outstanding contributions in innovation and business leadership. He has recently been honored with the Mint SAP Digitalist Award on 19th April 2018 in Mumbai. So we welcome you today to today's session as our guest of honor. We are really enlightened and we would love to hear your thoughts on ease of doing business, how innovation has been fostered in India, and the role of Atal Innovation Mission, and how we can learn from advanced economies, what we can have through this partnership between industry, academia, the United Kingdom, and the role that the government of India has to play. Welcome, sir. I hand over to you.
Thank you, Manpreet. Good morning, Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished people in the audience who have logged on to this call. I do hope that every one of you is safe and healthy during these very difficult times and following the safeguards and practices that have been advocated by your government, your ministries, your institution, wherever you are. My apologies also for the very long introduction. Manpreet, I think Manglesh sent you a very long write-up and
a well-deserved one.
And thank you for your generous introduction. As Manpreet introduced, and as His Excellency also stated earlier, it is very important at this point in time, the COVID-19 times, which have been unprecedented in the history of the world. a simple virus has paralyzed nations across the world. It has also disrupted supply chains. It has created national lockdowns, which is having tremendous effect on workers across the country who are dependent on a daily wage for their own living. It has displaced migrant workers, millions of migrant workers in a country like India, back to their hometowns, and then they have to choose between the frying pan and the fire, whether to continuing the COVID-19 to run their lives, or whether they risk their livelihoods. So during these difficult times, it is also important for us to recognize the tremendous opportunity that is there in front of us, not only to be able to beat this challenge, but also position ourselves much more advantageously in a post-COVID-19 world. The COVID-19 has shown or made us realize the other challenges that are there in front of us. Challenges of disruption to supply chains that are possible not only during a crisis like this, but also potentially a climate change crisis or other protectionist measures that may be adopted by governments. It has also made us realize the importance of how do you ensure uniform development, because a lopsided economic development in any country is not going to be sustainable. India, for example, is a country with 1 billion people, 1.3 billion people. We have more than 715 districts in our country. More than 115 of them are called as aspirational districts because they are at the bottom of the pyramid in terms of access to basic education, access to good health care, access to clean drinking water and sanitation, affordable housing, you name it. They are people who are in want of all of these things. We also have more than 4,000 towns and cities in our country, but we have only 8 tier 1 cities. And so if the bulk of the population is going to be migrating to 8 tier 1 cities in order for their economic growth to be assured, it's going to be a very lopsided growth of a country. And that is simply not sustainable. It is important to carry the billion people along. And it is important to ensure that all of the cities and the towns are able to develop as hubs of job innovation and job creation. How do we, for example, have 4,000 cities of innovation and job creation rather than just having 8 tier 1 cities for people to flock to? And that is also a problem for the rest of the world. It is not just a problem for India. It's a problem in many, many other parts of the world, even in the most advanced economies, where you still find the digital divide and the economic divide for the people. And in light of that, it becomes very important to consider, and this particular webinar session that has been organized is very important because you start looking at, I've got the share screen here, but I have nothing to share. I'm just going to be speaking. So yeah, okay, thank you. So in light of this, two things become very important. One is the ease of doing business, not only within a country, but between countries, because the clear dependency of every country upon every other country in a globally connected economy can and is a reality. And that reality needs to be addressed through innovation, through entrepreneurship, through borderless communication, through enabling ease of doing business. And while India has been making steady progress on the ease of doing business with multiple countries, it is important to step up on the scale and press on the accelerator, not only for India, but for other countries to be able to leverage this tremendous opportunity that is there in front of us. And why do I say there is an opportunity? Let's look at India. We have the Honorable Prime Minister made a clarion call talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat or a self-reliant India. Now, a self-reliant India is not an India that is a protectionist India. That is not the purpose of the call. The purpose of the call was how do we leverage the 5 very important pillars that upon which a self-reliant India, which not only is a boon for the country, but would be a boon for the world. How do we ensure to create an India that can be an integral partner of the growth of not only the Indian population and the Indian economy, but also of the global economy. And in order to do that, the 5 pillars that he identified are very significant. And that is why the Atal Innovation Mission has been formed in order to be able to strengthen the 5 pillars, and I will explain how. The first pillar that he talked about is a demographic dividend. We are a country of 1.3 billion people, but we have 1.4 million schools. We have 10,500 engineering and related institutions. We have over 39,000 colleges. We have 150 million young students entering into the workplace. We have a country which is 65% of our population is under 35 years old. And that is a tremendous demographic dividend that we enjoy. It is the envy of many a country. And therefore, you need to be able to leverage this tremendous energy, which is there in the demographic dividend, not only for the benefit of our country, but for the rest of the world. So how do you then create a nation of job creators? A nation of job creators instead of just job seekers is very important in the context of India. Like I said, if you want to develop India uniformly, we need thousands of more job creators. And therefore, the Atal Innovation Mission has embarked upon this initiative by which we're not only creating a culture of innovation in our young students across the country, the 150 million students upon which the future of our country is based, but we're also creating an ecosystem of entrepreneurship so that young, innovative, talented students are able to thrive in an atmosphere and an ecosystem of entrepreneurship where startups can be created with ease and where new businesses can be sprung from. And these new businesses are enabled to connect with the rest of the global economy. And therefore, there are 5 major initiatives that the Atal Innovation Mission has done to be able to create and leverage this demographic dividend. The first and foremost is we are setting up tinkering labs across the country in thousands of schools. More than 10,000 schools have been selected to set up what are known as Atal Tinkering Labs. And these tinkering labs are dedicated innovation workspaces where the latest of technologies like 3D printers, robotics, IoT, miniaturized electronics, augmented virtual reality, do-it-yourself kits are being implemented so that young students from grade 6 to grade 12 get an opportunity to be able to tinker with them, play with them, create solutions for problems they see in and around the community. So not only does this enable the young students to become abreast of the latest technologies upon which solutions are being created in the global marketplace, but it also creates in them 21st century skills of problem identification, problem solving, critical thinking, teamwork, design thinking, and so on. And that is so very important because when these students enter the universities, they would be then able to leverage the hundreds of incubators, world-class incubators that Atal Innovation Mission is setting up. We are setting up what are known as Atal incubators. Each incubator is being given a grant of up to 10 crores by the Indian government to foster 25 to 30 startups every 2 years. In the last 2.5 years, we have launched more than 100 incubators, the establishment of 100 incubators, out of which 70 are operational and more than 1,500 startups have come out of these incubators. 547 of them are women-led startups. That is a great force and a great encouragement for inclusivity, not only in the Atal Tinkering Labs where girl students are able to innovate and respond to the challenges that we create, but also in the incubators where we are fostering women-led entrepreneurs and women-led startups. Now, the second pillar that he talked about, the Honorable Prime Minister said, is a pillar of infrastructure. We need to not only ensure that the physical infrastructure in all the 715 districts we talk about, the 600,000 villages that are there in this country, the 4,000 plus smart the towns, we need to create smart infrastructure. And smart infrastructure is a combination of physical infrastructure, electronic infrastructure, and the digital infrastructure. So there is a huge opportunity for innovation and entrepreneurship to be able to be leveraged for the creation of the infrastructure that is very much important for the growth of a nation. And in this, coupled with ease of doing business, you can attract the best of minds and the best of startups from across the world in order to play a game in this innovation and entrepreneurship. By joining with Indian startups or joining with Indian companies or partnering with Indian institutions and being able to create the infrastructure that is needed for a self-reliant India. The third pillar that he talked about is a demographic dividend. The demographic dividend of India is 1 billion people, and 1 billion people have 1 billion demands. So this is the marketplace of the future. This is an opportunity not only for all the companies in India, but for companies across the world. And therefore, it is very important to become an integral part of the innovation, entrepreneurship, skill development ecosystem in India, so that you are able to combine the skills and the talent of other countries like UK and US and all the other countries who wish to partner with India, and to be able to combine them with the scale that India affords in order to be able to create a new India, which is going to be a plus for the rest of the world. The fourth pillar the pillar that he talked about is the pillar of technology. Technology has become affordable, accessible, available, and advanced. 3D technology 3D printing is creating a revolution in the manufacturing world. Robotics is driving the next level of automation. Wireless 5G technologies are driving communication between plants, between man, machine, and device, because of sensor technologies getting integrated into everything. So there is a huge opportunity of leveraging technology in the growth of a nation, not only from an economic point of view, but from a socio-economic point of view, from a social point of view. We need to ensure that we do as much for social good as we do for the economic growth. And that leads us to the fifth pillar, which is socio-economic growth. We are a country of 1 billion people with 1 million challenges, but 1 million challenges are 1 million opportunities, like I said. We have 22% of our country still below the poverty line. We have 44% of our country agri-economy based. We have 115 of our districts as aspirational districts, with 1 in 3 infant mortality, 1 in 5 maternal mortality still in these districts. Problems with access to clean drinking water, problems of climate change, and so on. But every one of these opportunities is an opportunity for the international community and the community in India to come together and solve these problems. We have launched what are known as Atal Community Innovation Centers. And these community innovation centers are in Tier 2, Tier 3, and in rural India, so that you are able to apply the benefits of modern technologies, innovations to the problems of solving a local community. Now imagine a local community which is a fishing district. How do you use modern technology for promoting the fishing industry there? Or in a place like Goa, which has a thriving tourism industry, how do you leverage technology and how do you leverage international communities to participate in the growth of the shipbuilding industry, the cashew nut industry, or the fishing industry, or the tourism industry in a place like Goa? So there is a huge need, not only for economic innovation, but for social innovation. And therefore, when we attack all of this together, the problems of addressing ease of business, doing business, becomes a very, very important problem to be tackled. How do we ensure that the benefits of advances being made in a country like UK is also brought to the benefit of the communities in India? And similarly, how do you ensure that the tremendous demographic dividend and the talent that is in India is also leveraged by UK organizations or other organizations across the world? That is the major opportunity that we all have in front of us. And I'm sure by webinars like this and the ability to collaborate now using the digital medium much more effectively, we would be very, very well off and very well positioned to be able to make a genuine impact for a better world to live in. And at Atal Innovation Mission, we would be very happy to have some progressive measures and agreements with the UK Business Council and other organizations in the United Kingdom to be able to promote skill development, innovation, entrepreneurship, and joint co-innovation to address the problems not only of our country, but of the world. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to talk on this particular occasion.
Ramananji, thank you so much. I mean, the information that you gave, and with such vigor and straight from your heart, I think it has really hit a chord with all of the who are listening today. You know, we are nearly 100 people here today, and I'm sure all of them are dying to ask you questions. if I may take another 5 minutes of you, and can we have 2 or 3 questions from people if they would like to ask something, or from the panelists, sir? In fact, today we are joined by Dr. P. Anbalangaji, who is the CEO of MIDC. Sir, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions.
Or if anybody from the general public, we would like to have just 2 or 3 questions for sir. We would like to keep this interactive. Kavita ji, at our back end, can you please unlock that so that some people can ask questions? Anbila, please, first question from you. Please unmute yourself, and we would love to have a basic introduction, sir.
Good afternoon. Can you, Ramanan sir? Good afternoon. Kannan, also I can see Kannan. Good host of people. And I think Kevin is there. Kevin I have seen, but Kevin is not there. Yes.
Kevin is there. He's there
One
somewhere.
thing, my request is like, since you are with Niti Aayog and with one of my mentor, Amitabh Khan sir, I would like to put one in a public forum, one request. The EIA notification has come now, particularly for the large industrial park. It's going to be a very, very game changer for all the bulk truck, particularly all the units which like China Plus or maybe whatever like API units. Wherever there is a common infrastructure is there, with a full-fledged, I would say, common effluent treatment plant, maybe a solvent recovery plant, all the added environmental infrastructure. When the area gets the EC, so the government of India should insist that they should take composite environmental clearance, and companies which are like taking a land there should not be asked to do an individual EC. This is going to be a big thing, particularly for Atma Nirbhar, all that bulk truck park policy and all PLI incentives for the 56 API and key, I would say, starting material. So this is going to be one thing. For all, I'm saying this is for all the new industrial parks which are going to come up. So wherever there is a common effluent treatment plant, so we need to do a detailed study, and the individual units should be done away with that, because states are going to do I would say the pollution control boards are giving approvals. This is one thing. Second, in older the established industrial park, in 1994, we are also submitting.
One second. One second.
Companies with one crore investment were exempted from EC. So here also we are requesting that, but now MSME number like benchmark has been raised up to 50 crore. So wherever there is an environmental infrastructure, namely, for example, we have a TTC, Taloja, and where there is a capacity, so the smaller units up to 50 crore should be like done away with this environmental clearance. These two. Third, I would say this corporate tax relaxation for the 2023, because of this COVID and post-COVID pandemic, all things. The major 2-3 investors, particularly from Southeast Asia, request that this deadline can be rescheduled for another 2 years. So kindly from these are 3 like suggestions from our state. So kindly this may be taken up at the appropriate level.
I will be.
Yes, and
Yeah.
I would like to thank
I'll be very happy to-
Anbalangaji, sir.
Yeah, I'll be very happy to take these forward with the help of Amitabh ji,
Yes.
Dr. Anbagaran, and please send me if you can send me a write-up on this, all these 3 points. I'll definitely take it up and try to move it forward. And all of them are very valid.
I will send it to you personally, the one which we are submitting to MOEF. I will send it to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, both of you. Anybody from the general public who would love to ask sir a question? Please unmute yourself and speak, and I request everybody else. Rajesh Sethi ji. Rajesh Sethi ji is joining us from Delhi. Sir, please unmute yourself. Sir, Rajesh ji, we can't hear you. Please unmute yourself. Okay. Someone else, please. Anybody else would love to ask a question? Please unmute yourself, introduce yourself, and question. Okay, I guess, sir, we would be sending you a docket soon from the industry, from partnership, from the NGOs. Today's session has got a lot to offer. I thank you for your time. It's been our pleasure and honor, and we would be troubling you for our development of our country. And thank you so much once again, sir.
We'll be very happy to respond to any questions. Please send me a mail. You have my email ID, Manpreet, and I would be more than happy to take up suggestions and any ideas for improvement on any of the things that we are doing, and work with the concerned person to see how we can further that. And thank you so much for giving me an opportunity today to participate in this session.
Thank you so much. For the general people who are interested in asking questions, the chat box is open. I request you all to please introduce yourself while the session is going on. Keep yourselves mute, but you all can put all your contact details, share amongst the members. There are 100 people here today. Please feel to interact amongst yourself on the chat box. Keep your mic on mute, please. Going on with today's session, today we have another special guest. Our special guest for today is we have with us and Areti. And Uday was the first Indian to be elected as the councillor for Royal Borough, Kensington in May 18. He's an executive body of the Conservative Friends of India, an official body of the Conservative Party of the United Kingdom. He was recognized as a young leader, 35 under 35 young leader in India-UK relations by India Incorporated. Following his investment in BRICS Youth Summit, he founded BRICS Europe to develop BRIC nations' policies and governance. Aarien is also Vice Chair of Europe-India Chamber of Business and Industry. He also works with MPs on local and national government issues and policies. He is here today to join us from the United Kingdom and present his views and interacting with Indian and the British businesses based out of UK in one of the richest boroughs of the United Kingdom. Welcome. So I hand it over to you. Aarien, please unmute yourself. Welcome, Aarien. Am I audible to the rest of the panelists and the people? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Aarien, can you hear us? Thought only India had technical issues. Looks like India has them sometimes. Aarien, can you hear us? Okay, I would love to introduce Chamber, our Indian Chamber of International Business. We have a pretty short 30-second video. You all can go through that. Just give me a minute, please. Thank you so much. Do we have Aarien back? Just a second. Let just. Aarien, can you hear us? Okay, anyways, we shall have his address. Joins us. We have here. Aarien, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay.
Welcome today to a session of India and UK relations. We welcome you to be here from the United Kingdom at this time. Welcome, sir.
Oh, thank you so much, Manpreet. Thanks for the introduction and namaste, everyone. Firstly, may I
can you
also
be a little louder?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, is it loud? Hello?
Perfect.
Manpreet, is it? All right. Right, thank you, Manpreet, for such a great introduction. And may firstly thank His Excellency, Mr. Alan Gemmell, Her Majesty Trade Commissioner for South Asia and Deputy High Commissioner. Thanks for talking about our recent help that we had through the COVID times when the India provided paracetamol to NHS, a great help, and everything that India does, and it's the same how India appreciate what UK does for India. And may I also thank Mr. Ramanan for such a great insight about the things that you're doing. And I heard about you, sir, and such a fantastic job that you're doing for our country and India. Thank you. And quickly, there's a lot being said by both gentlemen about India and UK partnership, and there's nothing much I can really add about it. But mainly, the reason why India and UK should have a partnership is this, because we want to allow the English project, APL, not the Ashes, and that's why it's very important to have a trade relationship. But jokes aside, let me firstly say my deepest sympathies and condolences to people that have passed away during COVID, especially in the UK, where a lot of them are Indian diaspora. And it's a sad thing because about 3% of the Indians have died out of the 16 ethnic minorities in the UK. And the Prime Minister has set up a commission, and the report will be coming out, and see. We'll have to wait for the report to come out. Firstly, India, I've just seen it from Mr. Philip Barton, the current British High Commissioner, which is sadly leaving. He just tweeted about the partnership between India is unbeatable. And I completely agree with you, sir. The partnership between India and UK is unbeatable. And I'm not talking about stats more importantly, but if you look at the list of MPs in the upper house and the lower house, it constitutes about 23 MPs in the upper house and 15 MPs in the lower house. So that's probably bigger than the size of the Delhi state MPs. And you can imagine how the structure, the tolerance, the liberal values of this country allows people from Indian origin and across the world to come live here, become an MP is incredible. And UK has enormous potential to have a very good partnership with India. And coming to the business sector, if you look at the recent report by Grant Thornton and the CII and the British and the Indian High Commission, there are about, in 2019 itself, the Indian companies have contributed 48 billion turnover, and the corporation tax about 684 million, so which is roughly about 4,000 crores. And if you look at the top businessmen, Lakshmi Mittal, Reuben Brothers, Hinduja Brothers, Vedanta Group, they were all born in India. and they came up here as an immigrant. They set up businesses, and it's incredible to see how these people grew up. And this is all because of the structure of the UK, the tolerance of UK people, the government. And UK has a structure where, as an immigrant, you can come here, live here, allows you to do whatever you want to do. And finally, if you look at the strengths of the UK, as Mr. Gemmell just said about the ranking of UK in the World Index of each number 8, and I think it's jumped up this year. To set up a company, it's very easy. All you've got to do is, before you drank a sip of coffee, your cup of coffee, you can set up a company. And that's easy to set up companies in the UK. And if you look at the infrastructure in the UK, transport, it's incredible what the UK has as a system that enables business to succeed. And if you look at strength of India, basically, what we have is the skill, the millions of tech graduates, millions of skillful workers.
नहीं पिएंगे हम।
Really hard work.
अरे बहुत है, वो चले गए ना, वो चले गए। तो फिर हमें हो तो गया, नहीं पिएंगे। तू पी ले 3-4 कप, हाँ और पी ले, दे दो, कोई आया हो तो दे दो।
There's a law in common for both the countries. And
Aarien, can you hear us?
Who are working great, from sure. Yeah, we can. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Loud and clear. Thank you so much, Aarien. It was, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. I'm in discussion, such a talking on various policies.
Definitely. Please be around. Feel free to ask the panel questions. We'll be more than happy to take from you. Participants can use the Q&A column to interact amongst themselves. It's open. Please feel free to ask questions. We're going to take it up towards the end of the session. We now have the 2 panel discussions that we're going to be starting. I'll just introduce today's speakers today. I'll run a small video in which you can who the speakers are, and followed by a brief introduction. And then we'll be moving ahead with today's program. So that was a brief video that showed who today's panel speakers are going to be. Sir, madams, welcome all. We have experts today from India, from UK, from the British High Commission, from the industry, with reputed industry bodies and companies like Hindujas, the Mahindras. We have consultants, the Kannan group. We have a host of other discussions to go on with. We are today joined with a charity organization, one of the largest in the world, that's Rotary also. The first panel is going to be talking on the ease of doing business and its importance for expanding to new geographies. The panelists for this session would be Shri Areti, Corporate Performance Monitoring, the Hinduja Group. Mr. McCall, Managing Director, UK India Business Council. Mr. William Hopkinson, First Secretary and Deputy Head of Investment, British Deputy High Commission, Mumbai. Mr. Weber Mittal, Business Head, Mahindra World City and Origins by Mahindra World City. Ms. Aarti Parmar, Senior Partner at Kanu Doshi Group. Welcome all of you all. A brief introduction of the speakers that we're going to be having. Shri R. Kannan, Head Corporate Performance Monitoring, Hinduja Group. Shri Kannan is an expert in finance and strategy with more than 30 years experience during his career as management consultant and as the key member of corporate headquarters in various corporates, including TCS, PricewaterhouseCoopers as management consultant, Hinduja Group as VP and Head of Strategy, ICICI Infotech as EVP and Head of Strategy, ICICI Bank, and EVP Strategy, carried out assignments relating to corporate finance, fundraising, treasury management, strategy formulation and implementation, organization restructuring, corporate performance management, business development, and mergers and acquisitions. He's delivered lectures including for management development programs for top-level senior executives and anchors from India and abroad. We welcome you, sir, and you have your ideas on economic development, economic crisis, government strategies, your group strategies when it comes to relations between India and UK. What is it that you have been focusing on and how the MSME companies in India can benefit from this relation? Next on board, we have Kevin McCall, the Managing Director, UK India Business Council. He joined the council in December 2008 and has a range of responsibilities, coordinate the work of the team across the UK and the Indian offices, directly leading the advocacy, advisory, membership, communications, and research teams. He also leads the UKIBC's relationships with Department for International Trade, directs the UKIBC engagement with government bodies across the UK and India, including the UK's devolved administrations, English cities, and Indian states. Kevin has directed major projects, including development strategies to generate more trade and investment between India and Greater Manchester, the Leeds City region, and the Sheffield City region. He remains a strategic advisor for the Sheffield City region, attends the partnership. He also coordinates the UK side of both the India-UK CEO Forum, which reports to the Prime Ministers of both countries, and the UK-India Joint Economic and Trade Committee, which reports to the UK's Secretary of State for International Trade and India's Minister of Commerce and Trade. He also directs the UKIBC's Ease of Doing Business in India campaign. We welcome you, sir. It's a pleasure to have you here today. Next, we have Sir William Hopkinson. William is the First Secretary and Deputy Head of Investment, DIT India. He's based in Deputy High Commission, Mumbai, since January 2018. He's responsible for promoting foreign direct investment into the UK from India, with a focus on firms based in Western India. William has 20 years of experience and has previously worked on national security issues in London and in the UK and EU missions across the Middle East and Africa. We are also joined today by Shri Weber Mittal. Weber Mittalji is a business management specialist having total work experience of 19 plus years in the business of investment promotion, new industrial cities, international trade and development, and location advisory, focusing on developing and promoting large format integrated cities and industrial clusters as preferred investment destinations. Currently heading Mahindra World City and Origins by Mahindra World City at Chennai as business head. He is responsible for complete operations for both the parks for industrial and residential businesses in Chennai. Previously, he has worked with leading global and Indian infrastructure development groups like Asinda Singh, now Capital Land, China Fortune Land Development, and GMR as their industrial marketing and investment promotion specialist. Vaibhav has completed his graduation in Commerce and MBA in Marketing and Finance. He's passed out as India's Real Estate Strategies program at Harvard University's Mumbai study class. He's an avid traveler in his pastime, loves to read, cook, and go on long drives and listen to music. Welcome, sir. We're also welcomed by Areti ji from the Kanudoshi Group, one of the largest consulting groups based out of Mumbai and advising on corporates, their India strategy, investments into and out of India, looking at technical, legal, and other aspects for small and medium companies and large corporates for their India and UK strategies. Welcome to all of you, and I now would love to hear all your views on the same. I would like to start the panel on the topic today is the ease of doing business and manufacturing. Now, ease of doing business is very important when it comes to expanding to new geographies. New geographies not only mean within the country, but outside the country too. It can also mean relocating from a city like Mumbai to a city like Pune or Indore for that matter. We find that it's not that easy when you shift from your setup from one place to the other. So my first question to you, Mr. Kannan, as head corporate performance and monitoring of the Hinduja group, you have global operations. You have UK operations, you have Indian operations, and you have subsidiaries which are SMEs, you have large groups, you have super large groups. You can be called an Indian multinational. What lessons are the ones that you've learned from Hinduja's global expansion, and how ease of doing business rankings have helped your group in expansion for new territories? Kannanji, your thoughts on the same. Please unmute yourself, sir.
Yeah. You can hear me now?
Yes, sir.
You can hear me? Yeah. Good afternoon to Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very, very happy to be part of this panel. So the topic, ease of doing and manufacturing, is an appropriate topic. As you're all aware, Hinduja Group started with trading across the world. So in fact, if you name any country in the world, Hinduja Group has done some business with that country. It's all started with trading. Then our group always has, like any other business, we always look for ease of doing business in several countries in the world. So right now we have operations in about 40 countries in the world. And of course our group, to take a company like Quaker Chemical, which is listed in the USA. This company is present in 160 countries in the world. So we always look for opportunities where there is a good environment for ease of doing business. So our group actually, ours is the first group from India to identify UK as one of the major centers for focus for growth. So you are the early entrants into UK. If you look at all the business people in UK, you are the first one to go and make investments in UK and make UK as our global center for our operations. In fact, in UK also we have a few manufacturing units, including a unit which is manufacturing electric buses, the brand called Atal. So coming to this manufacturing and ease of doing business, as we are all aware, we also identified India at that time itself, 84 itself. India is going to be a very big center for manufacturing. That's how we acquired a company called Ashok Leyland in India. And later on, we acquired the Gulf Oil brand worldwide. So coming to ease of doing business, especially today, we had Dr. Anbalagan speaking about it. India is the best place for doing manufacturing business in the world today. In fact, MADC, I believe they have the largest tract of land which is available in India for setting up manufacturing units. So what has happened in the last 20 years, India has emerged as a major center for automotive manufacturing. If you talk about automobiles, we have at least 3 centers in India where there is a very good ecosystem which got developed, which helped automobiles to kickstart in a big way. And India is one of the largest exporter of automobiles in the world today. Coming to pharma is again a 20-25 year story. Once a product patent was introduced by Indian government, Indian companies are wondering what to do. Then they found an opportunity of generics, which is coming across the world. Hyderabad, to start with, emerged as a center for manufacturing in the beginning. Now we have many centers which are focused on pharma. So like that, if you see today, and the most important sector which grew very fast in India, it's not just manufacturing, it is also IT. IT is the one where India really made a mark. So today we export more than $150 billion worth of exports. At least 10 centers in India emerged as IT. And why today is India good for manufacturing, ease of doing business, especially manufacturing. Going forward, all the manufacturing is going to be driven by IT and systems. So people are talking about Industry 4.0. Now, yesterday, somebody talked about Industry 5.0. And India has got a very high capability in IT and IT-related services. And especially after COVID-19, people always joke. When companies are asked to go and do digitization, CFO and CEO tried their best and they could not achieve. What they could not achieve in the last 5 years, it was being achieved by COVID in the last 4 months. Most of the companies in India have gone digital. And one good thing was, in the last 3 years, India's digitization level has spread past. You were ranked number 155 in the world in digital consumption 3 years ago. And last year, India became number 1 in data consumption in the world. So that came very handy to Indian companies. Today, most of the Indian companies know how to do business in the digital space. So if you talk about that, Hinduja also, we identified this as an opportunity. We have companies which are in IT services, BPO, cyber security. Now we are focusing, Mr. Ramanan gave an excellent speech on what has been done in startups and startup ecosystem for India. So we identified all the emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, IoT, medical technology, agri-technology. We are focusing on all these. One good thing is that UK government and Indian government also have an agreement on IT and related sectors, where a lot of cooperation is happening between India and UK. So, and similarly in other sectors also. Now that after this COVID, people are looking at new countries for manufacturing. India has emerged as one of the favorable destinations for the investors around the world. Only thing is that Indian companies lack the technology. So what the UK can do is that they can encourage their UK-based companies, which have a lot of big technologies, high technologies. They can come to India and they can allow free export of such technologies. Especially,
so true.
The last point is that yesterday our Indian government has announced the latest defense production procedures, where Indian companies will be encouraged to produce a lot of defense components. And UK, as we are all aware, they have a lot of technologies from there. So UK companies can be encouraged to come to India and collaborate with Indian companies and make this program a big success. And going forward, I am sure with the UK, India had the first strategic agreement in the year 2005. After that, we entered into a lot of agreements with other countries. So our relations go back to centuries. So this legacy can be continued going forward in future. Thank you.
Very true, very true. Kannanji, I'll come back to you on this one. As how the Hinduja group is interacting with the MSMEs for a vendor development system, and how you are assisting these companies to grow with the group and throughout the length and breadth of the country and globally. Meanwhile, we have with us Kevin. Kevin McCall, you have been part of a lot of systems when it comes to intergovernmental relations between India, between the United Kingdom, and how the policy advocacy is one of your major fortes. Can you enlighten us as to how, through this relation that we have through centuries, what happened post-Brexit? What has changed that enhance or will enhance the relation between India and UK, and how the companies and both the countries can benefit?
Okay, thank you, Manpreet, and good afternoon to everyone. Also, the UK voted to leave the EU over 4 years ago now, and at the beginning of this year, we actually left the European Union, and we're in a transition period. I think the main difference is that Indian companies will see in the UK, and William will be able to come in and talk about this a little later. What's changed most in the UK is that we can have an independent immigration policy and an independent trade policy. So in terms of the immigration policy, it was announced last month, a new points-based system, which will mean that there's no longer limitations on the number of talented Indians that can travel to live and work in the UK, so long as they have the job and they qualify. But what's been interesting, even before this announcement, over the last several years, India has received between 50 and 60% of all work visas that the UK government has issued. So India gets more than every other country in the world of UK work visas, and that's been the case for several years. So India already in a great position there, and the points-based system should allow more talented, high-skilled Indians to come to work in the UK. The independent trade policy is an interesting development, and we had our joint economic and trade committee meeting about 10 days ago, a virtual JETCO, and what we're seeing there is both governments wanting to address market access barriers and have a shared ambition to have a free trade agreement at some stage in the future. And alongside those market access barriers is where the ease of doing business comes into play. India's grown, risen through those ease of doing business rankings in the last 5 years it's been a fantastic performance, and that's been noted by UK companies. And this is going back to something Mr. Kannan said, there's the great potential for UK and Indian companies to work together. What we've seen is that UK companies are already major investors in India. I think this century the UK has been the top G20 investor in India. So UK companies have got lots of experience of making in India, but as they see that it gets easier to do business in India, more people are attracted to that. What people are now interested in, they're looking at self-reliant India and what opportunities that creates for making in India, how it will drive ease of doing business reforms. And Mr. Modi, in his speech on the 12th of May, talked about 4 L's: land, labour, liquidity and law. I'll just touch on 2 of those aspects, land and labour. Mr. Modi talks about land. I think there are 2 important bits there. There's land acquisition. Again, Mr. Kannan talked about Maharashtra having lots of available land, and my friend Dr. Ambalagan reassures me that that is the case. But as well as looking at having land, it's having land in the right place. Land should be close to ports and other transport infrastructure. So when India looks at land reforms and ease of doing business reforms that relate to land, it should include all the infrastructure around that as well. If India wants to be part of these high-value manufacturing supply chains, it's going to need to import and export. So having manufacturing facilities with great transport infrastructure, connectivity to ports, is going to be vital. And also on the labour side of things, I don't think this is just about labour law reform. That is important, but it's not just about that. It's about having labour force with the right skill set. This is the future skill set as well. McKinsey did a report last year, 2019, saying that only 18% of investment decisions were made based on labour cost arbitrage. Investors are looking for high value skills, and I think this is another area where if India keeps training and upskilling its workforce, and hopefully the new education policy that we announced last week will see this evidenced. If India can get the the right skill set in place, it will attract ever more UK investment. So for me, two big ease of doing business factors, land and labour. There are, as well as those reforms in the legal aspects, we should also be looking at infrastructure development and also the skills development side of things as well. Those, I think, will be key to India beating other markets, particularly in Southeast Asia, beating those other markets to attract more UK investment.
So true. I think you've highlighted one of the key points when it comes to ease of doing business and manufacturing, especially when you mention land, labor, a skill set or skilled manpower. Or, in India, the education system is ever evolving, and with the new policy that has come out, a lot will change. We will have better skilling and better qualified people, and the knowledge set is also going to increase. Similarly, when you say the land and the labor, I think these are the major issues when it comes to any company that wants to set up manufacturing, let it be in any country across the world. In fact, even within a country, from state to state or from territory to territory, it varies quite a bit. Kevin, I'll come back to you on this topic between India and UK and how we're going to be looking up to that scope and how we can collaborate on a strategy. Meanwhile, I'll move on to Weberji. Weberji, you are from Mahindra. Mahindra World City is one of the planned cities that we've been having. Kevin just spoke about land availability, in fact, proper land with all the amenities like a plug-and-play model. I think we have very few places in India that conforms to these requirements. Do you think that this really helps some institution or company that would come to invest into India, or for that matter, an Indian company that wants to set up a new manufacturing unit? Not only large ones, even a small entrepreneur maybe comes out of college and says that, okay, I want to start a manufacturing unit. I'm sure they do not know the nitty-gritties of setting up a factory and which department would take 100 permissions from all the departments. What kind of support does a planned infrastructure give to people who are into this system?
Manpreet, thank you so much, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's really a good pleasure for being here. Very pertinent question, Manpreet, which you actually asked, and I'll just like to elaborate further on what Kevin was actually mentioning about the three aspects of business, which is actually labor, land, and skills. And on these aspects, probably Mahindra World Cities and Origins industrial clusters are already coming on top. However, I'm not going to talk much about that. What I'll rather imply upon is the fact that apart from these three things, there are multiple other aspects of doing business which actually makes the process easier one. And probably our industrial parks across Jaipur, Ahmedabad, and in Chennai, both in north, west, as well as in the south, help companies to come and set up the operations. Whether these are large companies or small companies, we really don't differentiate because the set of policies are all the same across all our parks. The investment promotion policies are very different from each state government to state government. So most of the companies have to follow those policies from each state to state. But what we do as a seamless connection with all these companies is actually to develop a strong relationship with the local administration, local government bodies, so that when these companies are looking at setting up operations, they actually become, this handholding becomes very easy for them to come and set it up with us. Apart from that, some of the aspects which Kevin just touched upon, I'll just like to brief on those. Like, for example, labor. Labor is something which is, very, very important part of the business. And in a classical fashion, it is said, 3 M's, so man, machine, and material. These three actually are the most important critical components of setting up operations. So we actually work very closely with the local labor departments as well as with the local ministries, so that we actually ensure that there is a very nice and a very good, strong camaraderie, which is always there from a labor environment perspective as far as world cities are concerned. While the responsibility of maintaining and managing the labor as per the government policies remain with the companies, but we kind of work like a bridge between the companies and the government. On the skilling side, if you look at Mahindra World City, Jaipur in North, we have a very large skill development centers over there. We have India's first skill development university coming up over there, which is in joint venture with the Swiss education system. So these are some of the things, the way we are actually putting up the entire industrial ecosystem, which actually ensures that the talent which is coming out of these projects actually meet the standards which the industries are looking at. If you look at Mahindra World City, Chennai, similarly, both the land, labor, as well as skill development availability is very, very high, both from an ecosystem point of view, as well as purely from the fact that we have established one of the India's finest industrial parks over there. So with a lot of international companies over in all these parks. So today, between World City Jaipur, World City Chennai, and Origins Chennai, we already have more than 165 companies which are operating out of these places, both small and large companies, and they are actually pertaining to more than 20 plus countries, including UK. So a case and study over here is the JCB, which is a classical example of how and what they decided when they were looking at entering into Rajasthan and looked at Mahindra World City Jaipur as the address for themselves. They precisely looked at these three things. What is the kind of land which is available, whether all the approvals are available for the companies over there, whether it's a plug and play infrastructure or not, how is the kind of skill availability over there, what is the relationship and how good and reliable the partner is. So from that perspective, Mahindra brings in a very strong identity as well as very strong reliability for all the companies to come and set up the operations. So these are some of the aspects from ease of doing business point of view, which we are taking individually at our level. But each state government itself is also working very closely with us. We work very closely with Bureau of Investment Promotion in Rajasthan, Inditex in Gujarat, and in Guidance Bureau over here in Tamil Nadu, to ensure that the companies, when they come at any of our parks, have a very seamless connection and very seamless relationship with the government. So this is our endeavor, that it's a complete end-to-end solution which we provide to the companies when they are actually looking at investments with our parks. And that is precisely the reason that we have seen both India and our personal rankings going up in ease of doing business, and there are companies which are actually looking at setting up operations with us. So these are some of the facts which are very important facts for us. And the last point which I like to make, which you very specifically mentioned about the startup companies, a very classical example of startup companies I would like to take again from Jaipur is, I'm sure we all would know, there's a website called cardekho.com. So cardekho.com is a very small startup company which started in Jaipur from Girnar Software. They are currently one of the largest IT companies taken up space over there in World City Jaipur. So these kind of planned ecosystems and kind of industrial ecosystems actually help the companies to focus right on their work rather than actually looking at some of the other external aspects of doing business. And that is precisely what we bring onto the table.
Perfect. That's a perfect compliment to somebody who wants to do manufacturing. I mean, it's very different as to what we have been having in the past in our previous generation, where I talk with examples. In fact, we've got 3 industrial units near Mumbai. So I can proudly say that my father has even put bricks and the foundations with his own hand. But in my generation, when it comes to me, I would rather have a plug-and-play system, walk into an office, start my production, and not waste, say, 5 years' time for construction of my factory. Rather than I use those 5 years in productivity and the productive setup and take off from where the previous generation has left off. So I think that is something that is different, and how we have all evolved over a period of time, and how planned cities are making all the difference to manufacturing. Weberji, I'll come back to you on this thing in a few minutes' time. Sure. I would like to listen to William. William, your thoughts. I want to know your experience. You've been advising Indian companies since a while now. There are a lot of Indian companies that have invested into the UK. We are, as a chamber, we are receiving a lot of interest from small and medium companies that want to set up their operations in the UK. What is it that your advice would be for these kind of companies, small and medium companies, sometimes even micro companies. We've had small manufacturing setups, but we have seen them go into large brands overseas and not expand their domestic operations, but there are some global names today. So what will be your advice to companies that want to expand into UK, grow their UK business, or make UK as the hub for their European operations? What would be your advice to them? And especially when it comes to post-Brexit, we have this special connection between the two countries where trade is a major focus.
Hopefully you can hear me. Thank you very much for that question. And thank you
I can hear you.
To be on here. I have to come due to technical issues, I haven't heard as much as I would have liked of today's discussion, so I apologize if I end up repeating what others have said. But if I repeat, hopefully it will be all the more true because several of us have said it without mutual planning beforehand. In terms of small and medium-sized companies, I think the key advice I would give is, what do you really want out of investing in the UK? The UK is extremely welcoming to such companies, particularly innovative companies. I would say that, as I think somebody earlier referred to, India was the second largest investor by number of projects in the UK last year. And let's say half to 2/3 of those projects, perhaps half, were from small to medium-sized companies that had innovative ideas in many cases that they were able to drive forward. And there are two main reasons. Obviously, people head for the UK for it to be a global base to reach the wider world, and because it's a large and attractive market in itself. Those two are not incompatible, but for a small business, they're likely to be, you need to consider both aspects of that. For the UK as a base for the world, this is before Brexit and after Brexit. Ease of doing business, the key theme of today. If you are a small business, it is easy to set yourself up and to get going in the UK. And once you're going, you can then reach out to the rest of the world. The language, the administration, the transparency, the speed of resolving contracts, the ecosystem, which means that you can recruit easily. It's particularly easy for Indian companies within the Indian diaspora, but that's not the only element. And the great R&D opportunities that exist there. If you are a small company and you want to develop your ideas further, the British universities are built to help you do that. This is the place to turn your initial vision into that global vision. But also, there are only 65 million people in the UK, but they are comparatively wealthy consumers. And for some companies, they are going to be absolutely key. The most obvious ones for that are life science and tech, huge consumption, both pre and post-COVID, and that's a real thing that can drive it forward. We're here to help this, and we can help you spot opportunities in terms of understanding the UK. But my core advice, understanding what you want. Come and talk to us about possible opportunities, but have that sense of going global. And there are huge opportunities there. It's a very dynamic ecosystem that you can grab onto multiple different strands that will take you forward, whether you're a tech company, whether you're a creative company, whether you're in advanced engineering, life science, they're all there. You can reach the UK and then you can reach into the world. Geographically, Britain is not leaving Europe, and that advantage will still mean that it is we are a key gateway for Indian companies into Europe. We're also a gateway into Latin America, and down into Africa. But happy to answer people's questions either in this forum or in follow-up to this.
Thank you, William. I mean, it's really welcoming thing to hear that UK is open to Indian companies, and it's the gateway to Europe. And having been there, it's I would say a much better place to be, and especially for expansions when it comes to Europe, with language bar, the relation between both having been there since centuries, not only decades. So that is something that I'd really like to focus on. In fact, our chamber has been receiving inquiries where people are looking for UK manufacturers. People are in my generation, they're trying to be very thrifty, if I may say so. So instead of taking the entire package products from here, they want to save on the cost of freight for the packaging, or they want to ship the raw materials. They're looking for British manufacturers to manufacture locally in Europe because of the ease of doing business in UK that has been there. So I'm going to direct a lot of these inquiries to you in the next few days. Due to shortage of time, we are merging both the panels. I hope that's okay with the panelists. I would like to now bring to the table Sujit ji. Sujit Nair is the chairman of Europe India Centre for Business and Industry in UK and Europe. He's now based in India. And Sujit ji, can we see you? Are you around? Yeah. So, Sujit ji, what do you think? Can manufacturing UK powerhouse India and grow? And how a small Indian company, according to
was that manufacturing Indian companies looking to manufacture in UK, right?
As in manufacturing in UK and manufacturing in India, it's like a synergy today. I would rather have operations in both the countries rather than just having in one place and then shipping to the other, going through licensing and formalities in all over again, rather than picking up just one person there and working. It's more of a co-opetition, I would say, rather than competition. It's a cooperative competition. What do you think between UK and India?
Thank you, Manpreet. Thank you for this opportunity. I mean, as Manpreet gave a brief introduction, over the past 10 years, I've been sort of playing a role in promoting trade relations between India, UK, European Union. So initially we started off with UK and India, and we have done around major set of activities in delegation visit, summits, etc. So we have done around 22 major summits at the British Parliament in London. We have done 2 at the European Parliament in Brussels, engaging with members of the European Parliament and stuff. So and our sort of focus has been more in the area of small, medium-scale industries. So coming to Manpreet's question about Indian companies looking to manufacture in India, the Indian companies looking to manufacture in UK, it depends on what sort of product they're looking at. If they are looking at a product which aims to compete on price, it does not make sense for them to manufacture in UK. But then if you're looking at a very high-end product which requires a technical expertise which UK can provide, that's an area for you to get your manufacturing done. Because UK does provide a set of expertise for high-end, high-value products, which I don't think India still has built that expertise. So it depends on the sector and the company which you're looking to do business in. So it varies from manufacturer to manufacturer and from an industry to an industry.
So Sujit, what would your advice to be to an Indian company that's looking at entering the UK market for expanding and for exporting their products to the UK?
So one of the advantage of which an Indian company which is looking to enter the UK market has is the huge Indian diaspora population. The Indian diaspora population is around 1.4 to 1.5 million, close to around 15 lakh of Indians from different parts of India do stay in UK. And it provides a ready-made, it provides a market for Indian companies. It provides an initial foothold for them to take those baby steps when they enter the Indian market. That's how majority of the brands which are household names in India have sort of expanded to the UK, have sort of initially started engaging with the local retailers, the local high street stores which sells Indian products. and started engaging with this set of consumers before they start fine-tuning the strategies to connect with another segment of the population. Can be the mainstream audience, can be a different ethnic population out there in UK. So that's where it does provide, compared to the rest of, because obviously we also engage with the European Union, companies in regions and stuff. The advantage which UK does have is this ready-made Indian population out there in a larger number, and advantage also is that this population is concentrated in few areas. Obviously, London has majority of the population. So for companies coming in, it does provide them the initial foothold, the initial sort of a market test to check whether this market really works for them. So I think that's really something which companies need to look at.
Perfect. Thank you, Sujit, for that enlightening direction the companies. You mentioned strategy, and when it comes to that, I think you really need a consulting and advisor in those times. And we have on our panel Ms. Areti Pawar. She is the senior partner at Kanudoshi Group, and she's been in discussions and advising roles to a lot of British companies entering India, Indian companies expanding to Europe, and other countries too. And Areti, I would like to hear your comments. You're a consultant, and for example, I'm an MSME company or a manufacturer. Do you think I should go and do everything on my own just because it's cheaper, or should I really look at a consultant, look at a company that would help me do that? That is a really important question that at least I get asked so often, that I can do this on my own, so why do I need a consultant? Why do I need to pay? So what would your advice be, and why?
Sure. Thank you, Manpreet, for your introduction. Good afternoon, everybody. Manufacturing per se is a complex subject. And India, we have a saying that if you want to take revenge with your enemy, start manufacturing. Kanudoshi Group has been traditionally advising lots of companies on cross-border transactions, especially from the tax and financial structuring point of view. And of course, all the time the underlying motto is value addition. Throughout the history, economic development has never happened without industrialization, and manufacturing definitely drives productivity, growth, and innovation. So coming straight now to with this background, of course, India is, today, why should anybody invest in India? I would just like to touch upon some very important points. First, of course, with the lowest corporate tax rate of 15%, we have a 3-year spatial window to book this rate for new manufacturing units operationalizing before 31st March 2023. I think Aarien mentioned in his talk earlier that in UK, while your sip is done, coffee sip, and you have your company incorporated, time is not far when by the time you finish your dinner in a day, I think in India, you have a company incorporated. Because I think we are changing under stable Modi government's leadership. We have no DDT, that is dividend distribution tax. Now it has been abolished. And I believe that all these factors largely contribute for people to come here in India for setting up this manufacturing stuff. Now coming to MSME. What is MSME? It's of course micro, small, medium enterprise, but it is minimum size, maximum exposure. Business owners, they spot the opportunities, they focus more on the products and processes. The technical side needs to be looked at, but who is the one who could guide them with their domain expertise and being savvy in international tax market? Business owners need to be guided on the financial aspects like risks, reward, tax, funding, likewise. Data historically goes to show that India has 1,536 acts, around 69,000 compliances, and more than 6,600 regulatory filings, in all considering different sectors. MSME typically will have lower management bandwidth, capabilities to build a global organization, and no great battalion of team. So taking, of course, a small business global is a complex and dynamic process. There are technological, political, financial, products, process, environmental, currency risks involved. Even after one has done detailed study, you need consultant to structure the transaction. So I just need to highlight one point now here is, as of now, we have been advising an Indian company, which is MSME, of course, on the growth strategy, looking to acquire a company in the UK into same line of business. I would try to explain how a consultant has a role to play there, which answers, I believe, your question. So whether to buy the company, the UK company, the valuation of that company, due diligence aspects to be carried off once you start thinking to buy the company, who will invest, whether the promoter himself is going to invest or his company will invest, or through SPV you will have some investment done. How would you fund the company? Domestic, international funding, it is a different ball game. If you have an outside investor who is interested in this, then how would you get him on board? So, and this company that we have been talking about has manufacturing operations run in a company, and the land and building on which the manufacturing happens is in another company. So of course, he needs advice to how to structure that. The reason is, once you structure that as an individual you're going, or as a company you're going, you will have to have local compliances, local law compliances, including FEMA compliances, which are very, very relevant, important, because you do not want at the end of the day, you want to sleep peacefully and you want to see that you are legally ready as well as tax ready.
True.
India, the last point that Manpreet I would want to make is, India has started to adopt international tax practices, the best of it. So POEM, GAR provisions, and BAPS and MLI all needs to be looked at. And I believe for that reason, you should have a consultant on board. That's it from my side.
True. I agree. Vaibhavji, I would like to I'd rather ask you if that is so happening in India or not as yet. I started my UAE operations Middle East in 2003. So in 2003, all I did was I flew down to Dubai, went to a free zone, gave my papers, which was listed to me beforehand that this is the checklist, this with you. And by the end of the day, my company documents were in my hand. Do you think that day has come in India, or very soon it is going to be coming? And what kind of a proposition does Mahindra have for these scenarios?
Good question, Manpreet, and a very relevant question. When India started the reforms in 2014, on an overall basis, India's rank in EODB was around 132 or 133. Currently, we are around 63 as per the new report which is out from the World Bank. There's a considerable work which has happened in terms of easing out some of the processes, the approvals, and some of the laws which were redundant for a long time, that they have been taken off. Now, what has happened essentially? I mean, India is a country which is actually union of states. So basically, all the state governments also work very closely with the central government, to ensure that there are policy reforms which are happening in each state government when it comes to ease of doing business. And so far, what we have seen is that most of the states, or rather all the states, are currently competing with each other in terms of ensuring that the ease in way the companies come and set up the operations in their specific state actually goes a notch higher. So what has now happened is a very specific process in terms of the approvals. While Manpreet, UAE is more of a princely state and a princely country, so there are laws which are available at the royalty itself. India being having a very federal structure, that those kind of things may not be possible. But one of the very important legislations which all the state governments have passed is basically the Single Window Act approval process. So most of the state governments today have a Single Window Act under which all the approvals are given to the companies at one go itself. Most of these windows are online, seamless, without any specific need for a company to go and meet the government for their approvals. So when you look at Rajasthan, when you look at Ahmedabad, in case of us, Gujarat, or if you look at Chennai, all our approvals are coming through the single windows. All the companies, they do is basically to apply online as per the government mandate, and most of the approvals are given to them within a period of 30 days. And the interesting part is that if the approvals don't come in 30 days, then it is considered as deemed approved. So these are some of the things which have happened, and more services are getting added to these, reforms from a single window perspective to ensure that companies come and set up operations very, very quickly.
Thank you so much. I mean, that is what I really wanted to hear.
And I'd just like to add one thing, that as far as, applying under the single window is concerned, I mean, at Mahindra's, we help, and we, as I said earlier, we handhold the companies on every aspect when it comes to, applying. So giving them a real guidance, in case of requirement, if they are looking for a specific package, meeting the government, fixing up the meetings and all those things are taken care of along with the client, along with the prospect by our teams, so that there is an absolute, 100% transparency as well as comfort in terms of dealing with the relevant authorities.
That's music to my ears, at least. Being a manufacturer, I can say that for sure. Especially, Anbalanganji was here a while back. I know how much I have gone to MIDC offices running around for the smallest of permissions. Of course, that's changing, and it will change with the directive from the top and from the central leadership. But I'm seriously hoping for the best.
So one thing is that all our projects are basically joint venture projects with the governments. So Mahindra World City Jaipur is a joint venture with the Rajasthan government. Mahindra World City Chennai is a joint venture with the Tamil Nadu government. So that brings in a lot of peace of mind as well as clarity for most of the companies.
Perfect. Thank you so much. There's something that I want to hear from you. Do you all, as the group, as Hinduja group, do you all support manufacturing or developing of ancillary units that feed companies like Ashok Leyland and your other manufacturing industries? Is there any kind of support system?
As you are all aware, in the automobile, there is a tier 1 and tier 2 suppliers are there. Similarly, dealers. So all of them will be falling under that now, the new definition of SME 100%. But also, when I used to work with ICIB Bank, for the first time, I gave the concept of introduction of this dealer financing and supplier financing. The first time we in ICIB Bank introduced that concept, where as a large manufacturer, you go and tell the bank that they have this much of capacity. They are going to supply to us. So on this basis, we give a guarantee to you. So as a company, Ashok Leyland, we are given bank guarantees for our suppliers also. And plus, apart from that, what happens in the last 10 years, the relationship between manufacturer and supplier, manufacturer and dealer has changed. Today, you see the entire corporation as a single corporation. You don't look at them as a supplier, or you don't look at them as a dealer. You require the entire support system for your company to perform well. So, in fact, when we have a ERP system in the company, same system is available to our supplier, same system is available to our dealer. So what are best practices we follow? Whoever is a supplier or dealer, they are also able to follow these best practices. So as a result of which, they are also able to improve their management. So in terms of finance, in terms of systems and procedures, in terms of best practices, as a company, we are able to help the entire ecosystem.
Perfect. I think that is more like a hand-holding thing that you're doing for the MSME suppliers and vendors that you're having. Moving on, we have with us today the Vice President of ICIB, which is our chamber from the Eastern Zone, from Calcutta. Now, Calcutta has got a special relation or in connection with the United Kingdom since centuries. I mean, Calcutta used to be the capital while a few centuries ago. And, it used to be a huge manufacturing powerhouse once upon a time. So somewhere down the line, some things got changed. And, Tinkuji, I would like to listen from you how we can rekindle this relation between UK and India and ensure that Eastern India is more connected to UK and move on to Southeast Asia, which Calcutta can become a hub.
Yeah, good evening. I hope everyone can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Calcutta undoubtedly is very strategically located. It is also having neighboring states with a lot of states from East India, and also connects the northeast states. Also, it has the facilities of transportation. Now, Calcutta has seen manufacturing at one point of time, and then for various reasons it has shifted to service. But there are a lot of companies who are still continuing to do a lot of business with UK. So I think since it was at one time, it's gone into a slumber basically. And when we are talking in terms of manufacturing, infrastructure is a very big and a very prominent part of manufacturing. So we have all the infrastructure ready here. There are companies which are sick now, but maybe they can be, they can come back again to their old forms, or they may diversify. So that way we have the infrastructures in place. We have the connectivity, and it's a gateway to the South Asian countries also. So I think Calcutta definitely has lost some of its shine, but totally not out. So the labor is available here, very cheap, and infrastructure. So together as a whole, Calcutta has a lot of things to offer. It has got a good infrastructure in place. Only it needs to be funded, and the service is already there. So I think anyone who looks into investing and
Tinkuji, please unmute yourself.
yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
So I said that Calcutta does have a lot of things to offer. It has the right infrastructures in place. Only it needs to be reharnessed, or just woken up from a deep slumber that it has gone into. There's a lot of service related industries which are already here. I can talk about ICIB Agro, which is into export of fisheries. So because it is a way also to the South Asian countries, I think Calcutta does have a very favorable. It's a favorable place, for investments to come in. So manufacturing and services always exist here, and of course the transportation is there. The cheap labor is available. So I don't think there should be any hesitation to come or consider Calcutta for setting up anything.
Perfect. Thank you so much. When it comes to joint ventures and collaboration between companies in India and companies in UK, I think there are, when it comes to high-end manufacturing, let it be electronics, electrical, defense, and even component manufacturing, let it be automotive also. UK is very strong in manufacturing of these kind of products, and there is one who's really ready to help us, and here with us today, and that is Rahul. Rahul Tabane is from UK Export Finance. That's music to my ears, where somebody who gives me money to buy something from them. What more do I need? Rahul, can we have you? Are you around?
Can you hear me?
Rahul Tabane from UK Export Finance.
Thank you, Manpreet. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Now, you know what? I would really like to ask you, expansions, technology upgradations. UKEF, I would say, for an Indian company, for Indian MSME company, one of the most important partners that I would like you to be with. And do you think that UKEF can assist Indian companies to import machinery, technology, and the works from UK? And what are the facilities that an Indian company can take from UKEF?
Okay. First of all, thank you, Manpreet, for this opportunity to be a part of this webinar and being on the panel with esteemed panelists. Just to give you a little bit of background about what UK Export Finance is. So we are an export credit agency of United Kingdom. We are a ministerial department in UK with a responsibility to promote UK exports globally. So we have been in existence since 101 years. In fact, we are the world's oldest export credit agency. And our mission is to follow UK exporters globally and provide them financing assistance to make sure that the UK exports become competitive and they add a value to the buyers of UK goods and services. So in terms of our products, I would say for the Indian companies who are importing not only goods or machineries, but also services from UK, and also to an extent an intellectual property or R&D from UK, we are ready to provide medium to long-term financing support, which can go even up to 10 years over and above your contractual or project construction period. What we do is we provide a UK sovereign guarantee, which enhances the credit profile of the Indian company or the Indian buyers, thereby enabling them to attract long-term competitive capital from commercial lenders. So if whether the Indian company is rated or unrated, we have our internal credit rating risk metrics under which we evaluate the eligibility of overseas buyers or Indian buyers in this context to understand whether we can provide our credit support to them. Once that is established, we enter into negotiations with the borrower or their commercial lenders, if they are available, to understand what kind of financing support will be required by the Indian importers to make sure that the UK exports become competitive as compared to purchases from other countries. We understand that most often in large projects, the companies follow global tendering processes wherein you have products and services from different countries competing. So we follow something called as OECD criteria, under which we require minimum 20% UK content. That means we did not require the entire contract to be completed from UK. We want a minimum of 20% of contract value to be delivered from UK, either in terms of UK goods or UK services or UK intellectual property. Once that is established, we can provide the financing support for up to 85% of that export contract value. So our support is not only relevant to the Indian companies who are buying from UK for their manufacturing operations, for their capital expenditure programs, or for their OPEX processes, but it is also relevant for Indian investors into UK who are using UK as their base for exporting globally. We have somebody from Hinduja on the panel today. They are very much aware about how this operation runs. So they have manufacturing capacities in India, which they cater to, I think, Southeast Asian countries, and they have manufacturing capacities in UK, and they use these capacities to export to European Union, to Latin America, to Africa, and other parts of the globe. So once it is established that a UK company or a UK exporter or an inward investor into UK from different regions is using UK as their base to export globally, we can provide even a medium-term financing support, which can go as long as up to 5 years to help these UK exporting companies to bid for tenders globally, help them fulfill those tenders and even get paid for that. So we have this general working capital facilities, we have bid bond support, we have export contract insurance policies, we have overseas investment insurance policies under which UKEF can really become that lender of choice for companies who want to use UK as their base to export globally. In terms of our Indian operations, we have an overall credit appetite of over £4 billion. That means we can, at the moment, support a minimum of at least £4.5 billion of UK exports to India. And our support is very much sector agnostic. So unless that it is a coal-fired power plant, and not supporting coal is an over UK government policy. So unless it's a project or a transaction which is related to coal, we are open to support UK imports coming into India across sectors. What we need is a minimum 20% UK content. Apart from providing financing in foreign currencies, we are also open to provide support in Indian rupees. So we say something as buy British but pay local. That means we are open to provide financing in local currency, so that Indian companies who do not have foreign currency revenues, or who have to necessarily hedge their foreign currency liabilities to comply with RBI guidelines, if they feel that Indian currency financing is something that they want to take, we are ready to work along with the Indian banks, or even the Indian operations of foreign banks who are very well established in India, and who can become our partners, with whom we can do a risk sharing agreement to make sure that the UK export to India becomes viable and competitive.
Perfect. And Rahul, do you think the small and medium companies can utilize these credit lines?
Definitely, there is a definite scope for that. I should have mentioned that the minimum ticket size that we often look at on long-term financing side to overseas companies is £5 million. But we have also seen that there have been transactions which are below that threshold, which have been supported by us. So as long as you have something which starts from £1 million, I think we can definitely look at structuring a viable financing support for Indian companies who are planning to import from UK.
So anything from 10 to 50 crores is in Indian rupee terms is something that you would be financing. A rough ballpark figure. So
yes.
So in today's times, that's not much. I think every small and medium company, I think even small factory wala having gala 2-3 crore turnover. So if he wants to grow and he has a ticket size of say 10 crore or onwards, and that is something that they can approach you for funding, proving that that it's an established line of supply from the UK.
Exactly. That should be the starting point. And another important criteria that we need to have a lender, a commercial lender on board with an Indian company who's ready to provide financing on the back of UKEF cover. Because we ourselves are providing a guarantee only. We are not funding ourselves.
Okay, so basically that will be like you stand as collateral, and the lender can utilize and leverage these sovereign guarantees, if I may call it.
Yes, sovereign guarantee of UK.
Perfect. For an Indian company importing from UK, I think that is something that all the attendees can utilize. I know most of the companies that I'm seeing here fit into this bracket, and in fact the panelists also. We have the consultants, we have the Mahindras, Hindujas, and even in Eastern India, I think we can utilize all these schemes. Rahul, thank you so much. It's been very enlightening, the information that you shared with us today. Sujit, do you think that Indian companies can leverage these kind of resources that we have, like the Indian government schemes for MSMEs, the UK government schemes for MSMEs? Do you think a joint venture or something like that between British and Indian companies can last a longer time and more established as compared to a purely UK or a purely Indian company?
I mean, there's been a lot of initiatives right from the government level and from the private trade body level to encourage UK-India collaborations right across sectors. It's been right from science to manufacturing to finance, you name it. UK seems to be taking a very active lead in initiating these collaborations and stuff. Obviously, most of the discussion seems to be going a bit slow because of the Brexit confusion and stuff. But UK has already, I think UK has taken a serious number of initiatives to take up these sort of collaborations. And the advantage which the UK companies do get is that it provides a wide, large market. Compared has, I think it was Adeline or it was William was sort of mentioning, UK is a smaller country, a 60 million population and stuff. with UK out of EU now. Obviously, the market which they are looking is a very large market, is the Indian market. This sort of collaboration provides UK companies with access to a large consumer base. So that's where when it does provide financing, it provides UK technology, it provides UK financing, and in turn, UK companies and the collaborations get access to the market.
Perfect. I see that we've overshot our time by about 15 minutes. I would really like to thank our panel for being with us here today. After the vote of thanks, I would really like you all to just stay back for another 5-10 minutes for some question and answers with the people. There are a lot of questions, but I thank you so much, Mahindra World City. Thank you so much, Vaibhavji, for powering this session. Arti Parmar from Kanu Group, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to have you. All our other partners, Europe India Business Center, UKIBC, Aarien, thank you so much for spending time with us today. It's been our pleasure to have you. William and your team, His Excellency Alan Gemmell, for giving me time. Ramanan ji, it was definitely an honor for having you on board today and for the enlightenment that you gave us, for the knowledge that you shared with us. And Tinkuji, thank you on behalf of ICIB. I really thank all of you all for being here with us today. Thank you so much. I'm now throwing the floor open for questions. Please, one at a time, unmute yourself, introduce yourself, and ask the question to the panel member that you have. Any questions from the audience? I see we have Dilip Rajani ji. He's representing ICIB UK. Ajay ji is here from Indian Association of Industries, Delhi. Ajay, any questions for the panel? We also have Dr. Uday, who is one of the intellectuals that we've been working with and working on Atmanirbhar Bharat and development of the SME sector. Zenji, any questions? I believe most of the session was self-explanatory there. This is what I really don't like about online session. You can't see the audience, you can't see their faces. So that's something that really pinches me. But very soon we are going to be having maybe early next year a physical meeting. We would love to interact with all of you all. Thank you so much, everybody, once again. Thank you, Areti. Thank you, Kannan, Aarien, Sujit, Vaibhavji. It's been our pleasure to have you here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Manpreet.
Thank you, Manpreet, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Manpreet.
Thank you, Manpreet.
Thank you.